Hi, I'm Michael Moore, Solution Lead with Tridant. We're a technology consulting firm with expertise in solving business problems and optimizing performance. I'd like to spend a bit of time today talking a bit about student load planning and why it is important to invest in a robust planning solution. We've helped numerous educational institutions improve their planning process, and I'll talk a bit about some of the challenges we faced and how we overcame those challenges. We'll also have a look at what a solution could potentially look like. We understand the importance of a strong foundation and that student load planning is the foundation of all planning functions related to teaching, learning, and resourcing within the university. It essentially provides a baseline of how many students or student load a university expects over the next few years. That is why investing in a planning solution can bring numerous benefits to educational institutions, including improved resource allocation, automated predictions, more effective financial planning, and enhanced data analysis. One of the main challenges with student load planning is the difficulty of accurately forecasting the number of students who will enroll in a given course or program and the number of students that will be retained each year. This is of course influenced by a wide range of factors, including changing demographics, economic conditions, social trends, or competitive pressures. Addressing these challenges requires a combination of data analysis, strategic planning, and effective implementation of solutions. Investing in advanced planning tools, leveraging data analytics, and involving stakeholders in the planning process can help institutions overcome these challenges and achieve better outcomes in student load planning. Let's talk about some of the key challenges that are generally common across universities. Uncertainty, for example, a sudden shift in the job market or a new competitor entering the market could lead to significant changes in enrollment patterns. Resource constraints. Institutions may have limited resources to allocate to forecasting and planning activities, which can make it difficult to develop accurate models and implement effective strategies. Balancing supply and demand, making sure that the student load can be met and also avoiding any oversupply. And of course, complexity. These models can be quite complex given the amount of data, the calculations and allocations that are generally involved. And coordinating all these factors to optimize resource allocation and student experiences can be challenging. The process to implement a solution can essentially be characterized into three areas. The data preparation, which involves sourcing and transforming the data related to student enrollments, course offerings, faculty availability, and any other relevant factors. The goal of data preparation is to ensure that the data is accurate, complete, and ready to be used for analysis and modeling. This includes loading as much historical information as is possible. Data modeling is essentially the calculation and allocation that needs to be completed, and it can be split into three distinct categories. These are the commencement students, so the number of full-time students that will commence their studies. These are generally entered at a high level, such as student type or funding category, and allocated down to the detailed course level. There's also retention students, the number of students continuing their studies for each census period. The retention calculation is automated based on a variety of factors driven primarily by historical data. And of course, revenue. Revenue will be calculated for each school, funding category, course, unit, or whatever dimensionality might be required. The final component is data analysis. The model should provide a fast, easy, flexible, and complete solution that automates the planning processes and provides a self-service analytics for users. Using flexible multidimensional modeling, several key reports will usually be developed as part of the solution, and users should be empowered to develop their own reports and dashboards. What are some outcomes that you should expect? The solution should provide an auditable, governed platform that enables visibility throughout the entire planning process while creating efficiencies in the strategy development that will result in a tangible return on investment. Users of the application should be able to generate a baseline commencement and continuation plan, overlay it with any additional adjustments, and the solution should also accommodate the ability to run multiple versions in parallel to perform what-if analysis. Examples of some key reports that might be required could be the Enrollment Trends Report, providing an overview of historical enrollment trends for different courses, programs, or schools, or a Student Profile Report that provides demographic and academic information on enrolled students. That can be used to identify areas of growth, assess program effectiveness, target recruitment efforts, or perhaps a financial projection report that provides a financial analysis of the cost and revenue associated with the different courses, programs, and schools. It helps plan the budget and allocate resources effectively. If you would like to know a bit more about Tridant or what we offer, please feel free to get in touch. But Tridant is one of Australia's largest specialist consulting firms focused on designing and implementing information management solutions for both the public and private sector. We have partnered with multiple market-leading technologies to deliver the best solution for our clients. Our expertise spans a number of different market sectors, and we operate from multiple locations across Asia Pacific. But that's enough talk. Let's see it in action. So we'll use a fictional university for this demo model. Let's say the university needs to come up with a student load plan model that'll allocate the number of students across the planning years by course, but also at that unit level of detail. The reason for that is because we calculate revenue at the unit level. The way that we do it is by loading historical data into the system that will configure a few settings and assumptions around commencing students or continuing students. And I'll also configure a few rates or growth assumptions for revenue. There are a few different planning tools available to do all this. This is just using one of those planning tools, but they all have their own unique strengths that might make them better suited to your specific requirements. So we'll have a look at the historical data as a starting point. So we've loaded historical data, in this case from a SQL database. We loaded by campus, different schools, of course the courses and different funding categories, and we load it by different semesters as well. So each year is split into the 2 semesters. If I wanted to view a bit more detail, I can do that as well. So this is giving me the number of students across the specific courses over all these semesters. But if I want to see the breakdown of, let's say, campuses by a specific course, I could bring that into my view as well. And that'll give me the student breakdown across the campuses for a specific course as well. So once we've got that historical data loaded into our system and configured, you might want to start planning, and you might want to start with your commencing students. So if I jump to the commencement component, so this is where we set the number of students commencing or starting their studies. And in this instance, we will just look at the domestic students. So that's split between school leavers and mature students. Again, we can configure it across all the semesters. So for example, we can see in 2024 semester 1, we say we've got 1,000 school leavers. So we want to take that number and split it across the different funding categories. The funding categories being the Commonwealth Grant Scheme or the domestic tuition fee in this instance. So we can see we've got the 1,000 allocated there for that semester for school leavers. And I've got the ability to change the assumptions as well. So if I want to make that a 70-30 split instead, I can do that. Let's put in 70 and 30. And you'll see the number changes according to the allocation that I've configured. The system will also come up with a default percentage breakdown based on those historical actuals. And I have the ability to say what that baseline should be. So I could tell it just use last year actuals as the baseline to come up with that split between the funding categories. Or I could say for each semester to use a semester from a previous period as well. The system in this instance also has what's called a sandbox capability that allows me to do some what-if analysis. Essentially, it allows each user of the system to create their own little playground where they can make some changes to some numbers or drivers, view the impact of it, and then either commit that back to the live data or just jump back to the live data if they want. So if we wanted to, we could create a new sandbox. I'll just call it demo 3. And in this instance, let's change that from 1,000 to 1,100 instead. And you'll see the change at the bottom as well. You can also see it highlights any changes impacted by changes I'm making in this blue font. I can then jump back to my base data as well. So at this stage, we've put in commencing students. We split it between the different funding categories and student type. The system will then also allocate it further down, all the way down to the course level. At that course level of detail, you can then also make further adjustments to the final number if need be. The other component to it would be the retention. So this is the number of students you're retaining every year. And again, this is something that's going to be driven based on those historical numbers that we've loaded. So the system will look back a number of years to come up with what we call retention factors. So for each course across a specific campus or school, the system has an idea of what the retention factors should be going forward out to your planning years. And this is where you can review or adjust those retention numbers. So once we've put in the commencing students and we've got our retention students, that then gives us the ability to view the final number as a summary as well. So we've got this dashboard here that'll show us the total students across each course. And it also gives us the ability to look at different campuses. So we're looking at School of Science here, but we can jump into School of Education, for example, and see the number changes to show me the detail for that particular school as well. So the other component to this is then the revenue calculation. And in order to get to that revenue calculation, we first need to get the number of students down to the unit level. So you might have a separate workbook that allows you to do that. And unit allocation is similar to our new courses. Again, it all comes back to that historical actual data that we needed to load into the system. So in this instance, we can look at it. Let's say the diploma in aviation. And I can break this down and look at the actual course to unit detail. So you can see the number of students you've got across the different units for this particular course. In the system, we would also configure different revenue rate assumptions, as well as some growth rate assumptions over the planning years. That'll then come up with the revenue numbers that you can further adjust if need be. So there's also a few additional calculations happening in this model. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but it also includes the ability to calculate things like your scholarship or your Commonwealth Grant Scheme fees. But we'll leave it here for today. Thanks for your time.